The Moon Under Water by George Orwell. My favorite public house, The Moon Under Water, is only 2 minutes from a bus stop, but it is on a side street, and drunks and rowdies never seem to find their way there, even on Saturday nights. Its clientele, though fairly large, consists mostly of regulars who occupy the same chair every evening and go there for conversation as much as for the beer. If you are asked why you favor a particular public house, it would seem natural to put the beer first. But the thing that most appeals to me about The Moon Under Water is what people call its atmosphere. To begin with, its whole architecture and fittings are uncompromisingly Victorian. It has no glass-top tables or other modern miseries, and on the other hand, no sham roof beams, ingle nooks, or plastic panels masquerading as oak. The grained woodwork, the ornamental mirrors behind the bar, the cast iron fireplaces, the florid ceiling stained dark yellow by tobacco smoke, the stuffed bull's head over the mantelpiece, everything has the solid, comfortable ugliness of the 19th century. In winter, there is generally a good fire burning in at least two of the bars, and the Victorian layout of the place gives one plenty of elbow room. There are a public bar, a saloon bar, a ladies' bar, a bottle and jug for those who are too bashful to buy their supper beer publicly, and upstairs a dining room. Games are only played in the public so that in the other bars you can walk about without constantly ducking to avoid flying darts. In the Moon Under Water, it is always quiet enough to talk. The house possesses neither a radio nor a piano, and even on Christmas Eve and such occasions, the singing that happens is of a decorous kind. The barmaids know most of their customers by name and take a personal interest in everyone. They are middle-aged women, two of them have their hair dyed in quite surprising shades, and they call everyone dear, irrespective of age or sex. Dear, not ducky. Pubs where the barmaids call you ducky always have a disagreeable, raffish atmosphere. Unlike most pubs, the Moon Under Water sells tobacco as well as cigarettes, and it also sells aspirins and stamps, and is obliging about letting you use the telephone. You cannot get dinner at the Moon Under Water, but there is always a snack counter where you can get liver sausage sandwiches, mussels, a specialty of the house, cheese, pickles, and those large biscuits with caraway seeds in them, which only seem to exist in public houses. Upstairs, 6 days a week, you can get a good solid lunch, for example, a cut off the joint, two vegetables, and boiled jam roll for about 3 shillings. The special pleasure of this lunch is that you can have draft stout with it. I doubt whether as many as 10% of London pubs serve draft stout, but the Moon Under Water is one of them. It is a soft, creamy sort of stout, and it goes better in a pewter pot. They are particular about their drinking vessels at the Moon Under Water, and never, for example, make the mistake of serving a pint of beer in a handless glass. Apart from glass and pewter mugs, they have some of those pleasant strawberry pink china ones which are now seldom seen in London. China mugs went out about 30 years ago because most people like their drink to be transparent. But in my opinion, beer tastes better out of china. The great surprise of the Moon Under Water is its garden. You go through a narrow passage leading out of the saloon and find yourself in a fairly large garden with plane trees under which there are little green tables with iron chairs round them. Up at one end of the garden there are swings and a chute for the children. On summer evenings there are family parties and you sit under the plane trees having beer or draft cider to the delighted squeals from children going down the chute. The prams with the younger children are parked near the gate. Many are as are the virtues of the Moon Under Water. I think that the garden is its best feature, because it allows whole families to go there instead of mom having to stay at home and mind the baby while dad goes out alone. And though, strictly speaking, they are only allowed in the garden, the children tend to seep into the pub and even to fetch drinks for their parents. This, I believe, is against the law, but it is a law that deserves to be broken, for it is the puritanical nonsense of excluding children, and therefore to some extent women, from pubs that has turned these places into mere boozing shops instead of the family gathering places that they ought to be. The Moon Under Water is my ideal of what a pub should be, at any rate in the London area. Qualities one expects of a country pub are slightly different. But now is the time to reveal something which the discerning and disillusioned reader will probably have guessed already. There is no such place as the Moon Under Water. That is to say, there may well be a pub of that name, but I don't know of it, nor do I know any pub with just that combination of qualities. I know pubs where the beer is good, but you can't get meals, others where you can get meals, but which are noisy and crowded, and others which are quiet, but where the beer is generally sour. As for gardens offhand, I can only think of 3 London pubs that possess them. But, to be fair, I do know of a few pubs that almost come up to the Moon Under Water. I have mentioned above 10 qualities that the perfect pub should have, and I know one pub that has 8 of them. Even there, however, there is no draft stout and no China mugs. And if anyone knows of a pub that has draft stout, open fires, cheap meals, a garden, motherly barmaids, and no radio, I should be glad to hear of it, even though its name were something as prosaic as the Red Lion or the Railway Arms. Thank you for listening.